Okay, hello guys. Hope you can hear me. I'm trying to record this session as well, so hopefully everything is set up correctly. So this is the first session of Kentico Boring Show, or Boring Kentico Show, however you like it. And today, if nobody calls me or joins my call, I will try to create the Kentico Cloud Web Template, show you what that actually is, and what's their purpose, and how to create and build them. In case you want to call me, I will send a link to a GoToMeeting session in the chat room, so feel free to join the meeting whenever you feel like it. And when you do, I will try to listen to you. We'll see if the setup works. It's my first time setting up Twitch with GoToMeeting, so we'll see. Okay, so the link is in the chat room. Feel free to take a look at that. And I'll just try to minimize the volume of my mic as I'm using an external one. Okay, hopefully this is okay. Now I'm streaming my whole display, so hopefully there will be no passwords or anything like that. If there are, I guess I will have to change them in the future. And I'll just set up a notification from my GoToMeeting. Okay, this is good. So the office hours, as you can see on my screen, will be every other Wednesday. We'll see how many guests there will be or how many topics there will be. Today we're starting with Kentico Cloud Web Templates. There's actually 2 articles that are planned to be published in the future about the web templates, so I'm kind of ahead of those. I guess I can do a little introduction, and then you will find the comprehensive view of everything in the articles. In 2 weeks, I will talk a bit about MVC widgets, how to build one, how to share it via NuGet, and how to consume it in your MVC projects. There are still some things to be defined on our side, so hopefully we will make it. And then the rest is still uncertain. In June there will be a special guest. I still haven't confirmed which one it's gonna be, so that will be a surprise, I guess. Okay, now let's get to the Kentico Cloud Web Templates. I guess if you don't know Kentico is a Brno-based company. We have headquarters in Brno, Czech Republic, and we do have 2 main products. First of them is all-in-one solution, all-in-one CMS based on .NET platform that you can run on-premise or in cloud, that will power your website, used by many customers. The other product that we have is a Headless CMS, which is basically a content management tool that provides a content via API to any applications you might have. Usually it's websites, but it can also be other applications like mobile apps or large screens on airports or things like that. Yeah, so wherever you can consume the content via API, that's a case for Kentico Cloud. Now the biggest benefit or power in Kentico Cloud lies in the content collaboration. You can create content there, you can collaborate with others on that content. You can set up workflows, permissions, and other stuff. We actually use it a lot for internal collaboration on content, on articles that we publish on DevNet or on Kentico Cloud blog. Everything goes through Kentico Cloud collaboration, and it works for us. So you can try it as well. It's free for simple projects, so feel free to check it. It's kenticocloud.com, and I'll switch to Kentico Cloud Web Templates. Sorry. So the web templates, we actually already have one, but just to give you a little overview, how we think about Kentico Cloud Templates is that when you want to build a site, you go online and well, if you have a graphic, how do you call this? Like if you can draw something, unlike me, whenever I draw something, it's very bad, and it looks like websites from 1990. But if you can draw graphics and you can design web, then you can start there. But most of us, I guess, when we want to create a new website, we go to a site that provides a free templates, and there we basically pick a template that is closest to whatever we want. Yeah. So what I usually do is I go to html5.net, html5up.net, and there is a list of a lot of responsive templates. Their implementation isn't the best, to be honest, but it's good enough. It works well. It's responsive, so it works on both mobile and desktop and tablets, and it looks good. Actually, my personal site is based on one of these. I think we will find it here. Yeah, solid state. That's what I use for my personal site. But if you want to be a bit more unique, just try to look for templates that have less than 200,000 downloads. I didn't really care. I just wanted to create a website, and the main thing I wanted to do is present content, not care about how the website looks. So this was fine for me. But there is one thing that you always need to do. Whenever you get a template, you always need to provide an implementation of the content gathering. So the template itself is just an HTML code with assets, with CSS style sheets and things like that. But the content needs to be somewhere, unless you are happy with changing the HTML code whenever you feel like making a change. And then, of course, we've all been there, or at least definitely I've been there. 20 years ago, when I was creating my first websites, I just took a template and copied it or duplicated that template 20 times. And then, of course, for every change in the navigation, for example, I had to change all the 20 templates, yeah, or all the 20 pages. So unless you want to do that, you will need to implement the content gathering somehow. And that's what I actually did for my personal site. I also created one template after that, but today I want to create another one to show you how it all actually works. So first of all, what I will need is a template. Now in this case, I actually have one template in my backlog that I want to show, or that I'm using for writing another article about responsiveness. So I will use that one, and I think I have it open in another browser, so let me open that. And that template is a grayscale. I found it somewhere using Google. I have no idea how I got to this page, but it looked nice. If you look at the live preview, you see it's a grayscale, but if we change just the pictures, it may look a bit less depressing. It does have a navigation here, but the navigation only navigates through this page. So for simple pages, I don't really care about routing. I don't need to care about routing. That's the main point. I just care about the content that's here, right? You can see that it's responsive. It looks quite good. And it actually fits my purpose for this template showcase. Now what I want to do is to download it. I already did that, but you can see that it will just download the zip. I already have one there, so it has a few megabytes. And it shows me the template, or this is actually my folder for templates, and this is the archive that I downloaded. And when I open it, let's extract it to this folder. Now when I open it in Opera, you can see it looks actually the same as the live site demo. So what I will need to do is actually change the content here. Now the content needs to lie somewhere. Yeah, so you will need another system, or you can use Markdown files or whatever you prefer. I actually prefer something that sits on cloud, that I don't really need to care about, and of course that it's free. Yeah, because for my personal site or for any easy site, I don't want to pay anything. And I also don't care about the availability or about the content there. I just want to go in, change the content, and be happy with the changes on my site. Now the implementation needs to go from there, because there always needs to be an API that gets the data from that system into the template. Yeah. So let's take a look at how the template is actually implemented. Now this is my first time looking at the looking at the HTML code, so there might be some surprises here, but it seems like there is a bootstrap file that ensures the responsiveness. There are some fonts here, pretty much everything that I would expect. Navigation that actually navigates to parts of the page, and then the sections of the actual page. Cool. So the way how I usually start is to take a look at what parts of content I will want to store. So here you can see there is a headline here, there is some text below the headline, a button that actually takes me one screen down. There are some teasers and some pictures with descriptions. Now actually what you can see here, let me actually zoom out here. Let's see the whole page. Okay. I'm just trying to run EpicPen so that I can draw on screen. Okay, here we go. Oops. Let's go here again. Okay. I will try to use some contrasting color. So what you can see here on the website is that there are some parts of the website, right? Like this part is the actual content of the site. This part is another content that is rendered below that, but there is definitely a footer below this this section. So first of all, what I do is I just divide the page into a few sections. Should have done this in a different color. And those sections are represented by components. So let's call this component 1. And this one will be a component number 2. Okay. Now what I'm happy with dividing the page into components, now sorry I cannot scroll because the drawing actually scrolls with the screen. But when I have the components here, it's much easier for me to define the actual content templates for the actual content. So every content actually needs to have a template. We call those templates content models. And the content model is basically something like a form where you say that there's going to be a headline or heading. Oh, oops. That should have been an H. Heading. But there should be some content here, some text, and there is also one image here, right? So there's going to be also an image. Okay, I don't know how to write an image, so I'll just do something there. Now you can see that this content template or content model actually describes one item here. Okay, so I will, in order to render this component, I will need 3 of these items. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 components. The same will actually apply here, but it also depends how often that content can change. So you can see that there is address, there is email, and there is phone. Now, these things don't usually change that often. Yeah, the goal of creating a template shouldn't be to have everything dynamic, to have everything in cloud, because you are the developer and editor in this case, and you need to find the line between doing things in too complicated way and actually this way, if I define this not as a component but as a static HTML, it's easy for me to go into my folder and change the phone number if that happens. I haven't changed my phone number in 4 years. But if, for example, address changes, it's easy for me to go change the actual content in the implementation of the website. It's much easier for me than investing 1 or 2 days into making that dynamic and dynamically changed from the headless CMS. Yeah. So we'll actually keep this this component as a static one. The only thing we need to care about is the subscribe to receive updates, because this is actually a form that needs to go elsewhere into a third-party system. Yeah. But again, the third-party system is part of the implementation, and it will probably not change that often, right? So that's how I usually do it. Okay, now let me clear the screen. Can I do it? Oh, cool. And the same, of course, applies to the teaser image and to this component right here. Yeah. So let's start defining content. Now the template, before I actually get into the implementation itself, the template is consisting of two things. So one thing, the first thing, is the template implementation. That is in HTML, CSS, there's usually some JavaScript and some other things. The other thing that you need to do is the content import package. Now the content as we define it, when somebody takes the template, they just want to import everything, import the content into the headless CMS, so that they don't have to care about creating the models, they don't have to care about creating the items and everything. So the other part is the import package. Now this is a simple JSON file, and the good thing is that you don't have to care about this at all. There is a tool that will do everything for you. Yeah. Now, in order to start defining the content, I will open Kentico Cloud, and this actually opens my my account because I'm already signed up there. If you're not signed up there, just go to kenticocloud.com. There is a link where you can sign up. It's totally free. You don't have to enter your credit card, and you will see pretty much the same screen as I'm seeing right now. This is actually a project for another template, so that's why it has a prefix KCWT. It's Kentico Cloud Web Template. So I'm gonna create a new project. Here we go. And I'm gonna call that project Kentico Cloud Web Template, and I think this one is called, let me check, Grayscale. Let's call it Grayscale then. And because I'm in the Central Europe, I'll just use the Netherlands data storage, and I don't need to use any project as a template. So this will actually create a completely brand new empty project for me. So let's take a look. Here it is. And I can start with defining the content types. So let's create the first one. And the first one, oh, sorry. Let's check. The first one will be the teaser in the header, right? So here there is a headline, there is some text here, and a button link. So let's do these three. So first of all, there's going to be headline. Oh, this is the content type name, so let's call this one teaser. And let's start dropping elements here. I'm going to be using just simple text elements. Yeah, and this is going to be header. Let's use the rich text for the content. Right, so this is the header. This is going to be the content. And the last one is the button. So it's going to be another text. Or button text. Okay, I'm happy with this. So now I can move into creating another content type. So that's going to be this one. Again, it's just a headline, some content here. I'm not sure about the images. Let's take a look. There's the link here. So we're probably going to need this URL as well, because this one actually goes to a totally different website. And there's the image here. So if you want to make that image configurable from Kentico Cloud, you can include that image in the content type as well. So let's check. I think it was in Firefox. Okay, so let's add here another element. Let's call that button link. Save it. Now let's create a new content type, and that will be, how do we want to call it? It's below teaser. I think this actually goes to it. So let's call that there's another content here. Let's call that main content. And there's again a header. And there will be content. And there is the image here. Yeah, so I'll just add here an image. That's going to be an asset. Let's call that image. Okay. Cool. So I got two content types. Then I'm going to create another one for this image, headline, and content. So it's going to be pretty much the same as this one. But the thing is that I want to distinguish between these two, because otherwise I wouldn't know which one to render. So that's why I'm actually dividing these two. And this is going to be, let's call that, article. It's going to be again a header, content, and an image. I'm not sure if this actually links somewhere. No, it doesn't link anywhere. But if you wanted this part to link somewhere, you could just add a link here into the fields. So just save this. Cool. So I got these three models. And this is actually going to be static. Yeah, I don't really need to change this too often. Sometimes it could be beneficial to actually have one content type for all of these information. That means one content type that contains address field, email field, phone field, and these three links. Yeah, like Twitter, Facebook, and GitHub. Perhaps a copyright, if you wanna have that configurable from Kentico Cloud. But I actually leave it up to the website's implementation. So it's really up to you how we wanna do it. Now, before I start filling the content types with real data, I want to get to the website's implementation. Now, whenever I start implementing content gathering, I never start with nothing but my head, but usually what I do is I check the article that I published quite some time ago, because it's just a nice resource. I don't really remember everything that I wrote there, but it's actually a good resource to go over and use. I think it's this one, how to make headless CMS with a Vue.js website and pay 0. But let's start with this one, how to power up your website with Vue.js. Now I'm gonna be using Vue.js because I consider it the easiest one for beginners, but also for others. If it's just simple implementation, I found this library to be by far the easiest to use. And there are nice steps that you can just follow. I'll just use the Vue.js library. So I'll just copy paste that one into the template here. I think it needs to go into the head section. So that actually makes my website dynamic. Then Vue.js actually needs one top level element to be the Vue application. So I'll just add here, let's see, there is the navigation. I think we have actually body ID page top. I think this will be sufficient. So we're gonna bind the Vue app to this ID. This is fine. And then we need to lay out the components. So you see that this is actually the master page, and there are some child pages. This is not the case for this template because I don't need to care about routing here. Yeah, but what I will definitely need to do is define components in in the template and some logic in app.js. I will actually compress these two into one file. So I'll go up here. And I think I can do that actually later. I don't need to do it in the head section. Yeah, let's try it. So I'll just put it all the way down here before jQuery. Now there is some jQuery, and jQuery doesn't really play nice with Vue.js, so we'll see what kind of functionality there is. Maybe I'll just get rid of that. But what I want to do here is, let's call this Kentico Cloud to make sure everyone knows it's my code. And let's create the file in assets. Oh, there is no assets folder, so let's create it in JS then. Cloud.js. Okay, change this. Okay, now we're good. And of course, this should be the content of the Kentico Cloud.js file. This actually creates the new app. And the element wasn't a page wrapper, but the element was page top. And I don't have any router, so I can just keep it simple this way. Now I'm going to be adding components on top of this one, so I'll just create some space here. But right now, this is fine. Okay. Now it's time to actually define the components. So here I can see there is one component called navigation, and I usually just take even the static HTML into a Vue.js component just to keep things clear and simple. But I think the article will show us as well how to do that. Yeah. So this is actually a template. We don't really care about templates, but we only care about components. So this is how the component is used, and here there should be, right, the Vue component definition. Yeah, so I'll just copy this over. And let's call this component navigation. Now, the only thing I need to provide here is the template. So I'll just do that. And the template is actually everything that I have here without the comment. Now every template needs to have one root element, right? So just make sure this is correct. I have one nav element, so this is fine. And I will actually not change this. I will just keep it as it is. And here I can say navigation. Okay. The other component would be header. And this is, I think, the first component that should come from Kentico Cloud, or at least the content should come from there. So let's call this one header, or teaser. We called it teaser, I think. So let's create a new component. Let's call it teaser. Oops, I'm missing template. Okay, there we go. Oh, this isn't very nice. Let's do it this way. I think I'm still missing one. Okay, now we're good. So let's do this here as well. Okay, I think this is good enough. So that's gonna be teaser. Then there is about section, and I think this was main content, if I remember correctly. So let's call this one main content. Now, I'm not sure if the hyphen is actually going to work for view components, but I guess we'll see in a moment. Just copy paste it. Okay. And then there are the projects. The projects are what I actually called articles. So I'll just take the whole thing and make it another component. So let's call this articles. Okay, good enough. And the rest can stay the same, actually. Yeah, I think we're good with that. Now let's see how the website works. If the Vue.js will actually work. And it never does. Okay. Now when this happens, I'll just open a console and take a look what's wrong there. Okay, view is not defined. Cannot read property top of undefined. Okay. View is not defined, but view is right here. Let's remove this thing. So how come view is not defined here? Maybe I'm missing something. So when I'm always in a position like this, when something doesn't work, what I usually do is I just take a look at another template that is already implemented to see how I did it there. So I think this is the line that I'm looking for, but I already have that line there. And right, that's the same line. And here I have Kentico Cloud.js. That should be fine. So maybe I'm doing something wrong with the components. Let's see. Nope, this works well. So let's see if we're actually getting the view. Oh, there is the error here. Do not mount view to HTML or body. Mount to normal elements instead. That's a warning. Okay. Let's close this one. So in that case, let's put here another div. And let's call it view app. Oh, I see Brian in the chat window. Hey, Brian. Good to have you here. Okay, now let's see if this is gonna help. Okay, still doesn't work. Because I didn't update this part. Oops. This is what I'm after. Okay, now it works. So now we have the components here. Now no magic is happening here. It's just the components in a separate file. Otherwise, Vue.js just compose the page and nothing else. The console should be fine. Okay. There is something wrong in my template. Because I left the scripts inside of the Vue app. So let's see if this is actually gonna solve the issue. Okay, so now we have the console blank. We're running Vue.js in development mode, which is fine. Whenever we go online or we want to publish the site, you just want to change the script for a minimized version of Vue. Okay, cool. I'll just leave the console open. We're gonna get there definitely later. Now when you have the components, I think that's the end goal of this article. So let's switch to another one. Okay, there is some text around headless CMS, but what I'm looking for is this part. So this is actually the Kentico Cloud Delivery SDK. Now I don't want to, I could, but I don't want to create REST API requests from the JavaScript directly because I already have an SDK available where I can just create a delivery client, tell him the project ID of my Kentico Cloud project. There is also a nice screenshot where you can find it. And then I can get the data using the client. Yeah, so I don't have to create any REST requests. I don't have to worry about creating and consuming the responses and so on. So what I can do here, let's just include this first, this part. So this is the delivery client. I'll just include it right after Vue, but I think we can also include it later. We don't have to do it in the head. Let me check how I did it in the other template. Oh yeah, I did it in head. So let's keep it there. And I also included rxjs. That's the extension for rxjs for your website. Actually, the Cloud Delivery client requires this reference, so you might as well copy both of these lines. So I'll just put these here. Okay. And then the delivery client needs to be instantialized. Or how do you call that? Create an instance. Create an instance, let's call it that way. So delivery client. And I will do that in the kenticocloud.js file as actually the first thing before the components. So here I just need to provide the project ID. So let's go back to cloud and under settings and API keys, I will find the project ID. Now this is just for development of the template. Yeah, when you create the package, the export package from Kentico Cloud, and you create a package of your website implementation, this will actually remain empty. Yeah? This is where the people who would want to use the template, they will fill their project ID in here. They will just import the content package and they will provide the project ID here. So this is actually the only thing they will need to do. So what I usually do is I just put here like a comment, change your project ID here, so that everyone knows what to do. Okay, now this is my project ID, so now I can work with the delivery client. But let's first check if it still works or whether I forgot something. I think we were here. Okay, now it seems I broke something. Let's check the console. Okay, delivery client is not defined and we cannot read top. Okay, this is a subsequent error, but the delivery client is not defined. I have experienced this error in the past, and I think it's because I need to define, let me check. I need to take the instance of the delivery client from window object. Let's check the other template. Yeah, so it's the KC delivery client, not just delivery client, and KC is actually Kentico Cloud delivery from the window. So I'll just copy that here and use kc.delivery client, and everything else should be fine. Good. So let's see. Okay, now the template is still loading. Everything seems to work. Also the jQuery moving on page works. Cool. So now when this works, I will actually need to start making the components dynamic. Now the navigation stays the same. If someone wants to make it dynamic, they can change the implementation, but I usually keep it the same way and only get content for the actual content sections of the page. So let's keep it that way, and let's work on the teaser. Now the template is not really dynamic, it's just a static HTML here. So what we want to do here are 3 steps. First, we want to get content from Kentico Cloud. We want to process that content and turn it into the models that we need for the website visual representation. Yeah, so we have to convert it to our own models. And the last thing is display data in here. So you can see that there is the header, however you want to call it. And I think in Vue.js we actually have only a single bracket. Let me check. Not the right component. Oh no, double bracket. So I'll just create here a double bracket. And this is actually name of property of your object in JavaScript. So I'll just call this header. This is gonna be content. This will be button text. And this will be button link. Now you cannot use the double brackets in the parameter. So instead you just put here a colon in as a prefix of the attribute you want to bind to view, and just define the variable name as the attribute value. Now this is everything you need to do in the template, but you will definitely need to change the component a bit. Now I don't really remember how the components are created, so again I'll just refer to the implementation of the other template. And here you can see that it's actually based on the data object. There is some about data and contact data, and the delivery client then puts the data into those components. Now it's always about how many requests you wanna do. If you wanna create just one single request for the whole website, it's possible to do it in the main app when the app is created, and get all the data and transfer the data or give that data to the respective components. So here I'm actually just filling the data object, and when I'm instantiating the components, then the components have properties of their own. Yeah, so we can do it the same way, but in my case, I wouldn't actually do it for the component that only needs to get one content item from Kentico Cloud. This makes sense to do for data that are shared between components. But I don't really have that many data here in my template. So I will actually do some part on the component level. So I'll just copy this as a reference. And here I will need to create a new data object. I think, yeah, that's a simple object. There's extra space here. And the data will have these, the object with those properties that I used in the template. So Let's call this one teaser. And instantiate it with null, right? In this case, I would have to do something like teaser.header. So that's one way how to do it. Or what I can do, if this is an easy component, I can just list all of the variables here. So header, content, and button link, and button text. Now it's clear that the component will render based on these variables, right? So what I need to do as the next thing is to create a method that will actually get the data from Kentico Cloud and display that or put that into the data container. Now, in order to do that, let me find a component. I don't think I have a component here that actually does that. So if that's the case, then there is another way how to look for things, and that's Vue.js documentation. So Vue.js component, I think there is something like created method. Let's check. So whenever I'm going into the documentation, I always find myself on the basics pages. So here we have the data. Oh, I think we need to actually define the component data as a function as well. But we will find soon enough. But what I'm looking for are methods here. I don't care about events. Okay, let's do it different way. Okay, Stack Overflow. That's the best place to look for answers. Okay, it's mounted. It's not created, but it's mounted. So when we do this thing, let's copy that. And this is my component, navigation, and this is the teaser. So when the component is mounted, here I can do the call for data. So for that, I will use the delivery client. I'll just copy that over and explain it right here. So the delivery client is actually taking all the items currently from Kentico Cloud, and here I can define the type of the items that I'm looking for. Now in this case, I'm looking only for items of a specific type, and the type I actually need to provide a code name of the type. Yeah. So that will be right here. So this is the definition of the content type, and there is a little hash icon that is called code name, and it's teaser. So I'll just copy that here, and I don't need to look for anything else. In case you want to limit the number of parameters, you can do this here. I don't really care because all the fields that are defined here I want to consume, so I want to list all of these, so I will need to all of them. And when I get a response, I just say that this data, actually I think I need to do this. I need to put the function here, but we'll see. Actually, this is props, and I don't really have data here, so I will need to do. Oh, sorry. I will need to do a function here. That will return this object. Okay, now I say that this data, not images, but I can say that this data will be response items. This is the first item that will come. And then it depends what I'm actually getting here. Yeah. Now I'm not a fan of reading a lot of documentation articles or anything like that. So what I usually do when I get a response like this, I just write here console.log response.items and just check console whatever I'm getting there. Okay, just check the number of brackets here, and I think we're fine. Okay, now I think this is what I copied from Stack Overflow. Okay, so this will get me the data, and we can check if this actually works. Okay, I don't have anything here, which is good, because the content is empty. I have nulls here, so it's rendered, but it rendered nulls. And let's check the console for the data. Now you can see here that there is an array outputted and nothing in there. So that actually means that there are no content items in Kentico Cloud for that. Yeah. So let's fix that. Let's go here into Kentico Cloud and create a content item based on the teaser. Let's call that teaser. And I'll just stick to the original template. So this is going to be grayscale. Oops, grayscale. I think we can actually make it a lowercase. The content will be this part. Okay, I want to do this as a simple paragraph. And the button text is get started. And button link, I think the button link was to hash about. Yes. So let's do it the same way. Okay, now the content is saved. I don't need to click any save button, but it's in the draft. Now there are two ways how you can consume content. First thing is when the content is published. So let's publish it now. This is the public deliver API. If you know the project ID, you will actually know all the content that is published. If you don't know, or if you know the project ID and you still want to get all the items that are in draft as well, what you can do is go into the API keys, and there is the delivery API key. Yeah, so you can the preview API key. So you can get the key, include it in. Oh, sorry, not here, but here. Include it here in the delivery client instance creation, and then you will get all the items that are also in draft. But in my case, I just want to get the public data. So my first content item is in place. Okay, that's teaser. Now let's check if the content gathering logic works. So this is my website, and I'm not getting any content here, but I should be getting the content in the array here in console. So you can see that there is one item, and the item contains a lot of properties here. I'm looking for elements, and here you can see that these are the elements that I defined in the content type. I hope it's visible. I can make it a bit bigger. So it's the header, content, button text, and button link. When I look at the header, you can see here that there is a name, type, and value. We're looking for value. Yeah. So what I can do with the content here, when I go back to teaser, so here in the response, what I can actually do is do response items. I'm looking for just the first item, and I don't need to map it because it's just one item. But what I need to do is fill the data object. So let's do it this way. So let's call it this. I think I need to do it with the $. This data header. actually equals, what I can do is just do here item is response items 0, and I'm looking for elements, right? So element, so item header value, and I'll do the same for the other fields. So it's gonna be item content value, button link will be item button link value, button text item button text value. Okay, now this should be fine. Let's see how the website looks like now. Okay, now we got the content here. We have some elements here as well. That is because the Kentico Cloud actually gives me the paragraph start and ending HTML tags. So what you need to do is change the template. I think it's this one, and do a vhtml content. It shouldn't be in the p tags anyway here. So in that case, I will need to change the field control to something else than rich text editor. So that was my mistake. So I cannot really change it. So I have to remove that element and put here a new one that is called content, and fill the data again. If this happened on a real project, you could use the content management API to migrate the data before actually removing the old field. In my case, I don't really care because it's just a copy paste for me. It's published, so I cannot really change anything at this point, so I need to unpublish it first and copy the content. Cool. Now I can publish it again. So in this case, I will not get the p tags anymore, so I can put it back the way it was. Okay, now we're not getting the p tag anymore, but we're also not getting the button link. Let me check. What's the problem here? So we cannot read property value of undefined. Now let's check why this is undefined. So button link, button text is okay. Now the item probably does not have these two fields. Now let's check. We need to go into the content type. I think it was teaser. So button text. Oh, it's actually with underscore rather than with a capital letter. So that's my mistake. Button link and button text. Okay, let's check. Okay, cool. That looks good. Now we can change the content in Kentico Cloud, and this page will reflect my change. So let's continue with the rest. And it's gonna be pretty much the same thing here. Yeah, because we still have only one main content. So I will just copy this whole thing. And here we have a header. It's this part. And there is a P element, and it has a class here, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to have that class there, but I'll just keep it here. I'll remove this and put here div HTML. This is going to be content. Okay. And we also have an asset there. Now with asset, it's the situation is a bit different because it's not stored locally, but I'll show you in a second how to do that. Now we're gonna have the header, right? This is fine. We're gonna have content, There's no button link, so what we're gonna have instead is an image. And let's call it image URL, just to be precise. And that's all. Now what I like to do is to keep the data models here to reflect exactly what the view needs. So at that point, when you change something here, it will automatically update the view. And in the actual function that gets the data, you can take care of converting the data into whatever you need for the view. So in this case, it's going to be very, very similar. The content is going to be there, but then the image URL is going to be a bit different. Let's check. Put here the item, and I'll output the item into the console. Okay, now let's keep it this way, and let's check what we get. But first, I also need to add the thing into Kentico Cloud. So let's go here and create another item. And I think this one is main content. So let's call this main content. The header, I forgot what that was. Oh, built with Bootstrap 4. And this is the content here. Now here is the image. You can see I can pick already existing image from assets, or I can browse my computer to find the file. Now let's see where the file is. I think it should be somewhere over here. Yeah, this is the one. So I'll just copy this and go back to Kentico Cloud, browse, and go for the iPad. Okay, now my image is here, and I'll publish it. You see that there is a warning here that I have asset without a description. That's actually something that I could have here. So I'll just add here a description. So let's call this as an iPad. Okay, now let's publish it. Okay, now when I get another item for this component, so this is main content. Now we're looking for main content. I guess the type will be with underscore, the code name. We'll see. If that doesn't work, we'll see right away. If it does, we'll see as well. Okay, so let's try it. Oops. Okay, so grayscale still works. And this actually seems to work as well. It does not have the CSS class, so let me fix that. I think I had it here, text to white 50. So I'll just add it to the wrapping div. Let's see if that will work. Okay, looks good. And there is the image right here, but this is still the statically defined one. Yeah, the one coming from Kentico Cloud I will find in the console. So here we have the items, content, header, and image. So I'm looking for image. So let's check. And the value is actually here. The URL is right here. Yeah. The reason why this is an array is because you can have multiple images in one assets field. In this case, I have just one. So it's an image. In this case, it's going to be image. I think the array is right here. Oh, value. Image value. We're looking for the first item, and we're looking for URL. But we also want to set the image alternative text, which is going to be image value 0. And we're looking for description. That's the iPad. Okay. Image alt is null. Okay, now what I can do here is change the URL for each URL, and make sure that the view binds it by the colon. The same applies to the alt tag, and here we have image alt. Perfect. Now let's refresh that. Cool, so the image looks good. And let's see where the image is coming from. Okay, you can see it's coming from assets, EU01, KC, user content, com, and so on. And the alt is set to iPad. So that looks good. And the last thing we need to do is this part. Now, this part is going to be defined pretty much the same way as this one. So I'll just stick to this presentation layout. The rest can look the same. So I don't want to spend too much time on actually fine-tuning the templates here. So articles, we will probably need to create another component here for one article. Now you can see that there is a feature project, and there are additional projects here. And they have a bit of a different structure. There are different classes and different containers. But as far as I can see, these two are the same. Just if I condense, oh, they're not the same. There is something extra, but otherwise, apart from that, everything seems to be fine. Oh, text LG right. But this we can actually figure out based on the order. Okay. So what I can do is actually take all these away and just keep the wrapping stuff. I'll just put this here for now. And first define data that we need for this component. That's going to be again a function returning an object. And in that object will be articles. And currently it's going to be empty array that will be set by the data from Kentico Cloud. And in the template, I will actually call another component called article. And I will give it data based on the article data that I get. This one will need to be repeated for every article. So v4 will be articles. And let me check the other template, because I think I did something similar here. Oh, here it is for image in images. But I think I need to do something like this to make sure for article in articles, to make sure that the article component gets the data. So I'll just assign the data here. And I'll finish the article here. Okay. Now I can add some other parameters here, like featured article, and bind it to an index of the article or something else. Yeah? We can actually check how that could work. So let's see. Okay, this looks good. So I actually need to get an index of each item to make sure that I can define the classes correctly, if it's right or left. So I'll just use this notation. Where were we? Oh, here we are. So the item is going to be article, index in articles. Now featured article is true if index equals to 0. Left is true if the index This is actually true for 1, 3, 5, 7. So when we do modulo 2, we should get 1. We'll see, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but hopefully this will work. Okay, so this is good, but we still need to define the article component, right? So view component, article. And I still need to define the data gathering. So that's this part. I'll just copy it over from the previous component. And right now I'm looking for articles. So type article. And I want to get, let me check. Or let's actually add the articles now. So the first one is called shoreline. Oh, shoreline. Now what you can do, you can also use the content item name for the header, but this one actually has a few restrictions, like the length and other stuff. And I usually use this just to know what that item is doing. So it's not really a presentation header, but something that will help you as an editor to know which content is this. So that's why I have content item name and header here as well. Now the content is here, and I will need to add the image, which is this one. I think it's this one. Okay, let's publish it. Let's create another one. And that will be Misty. Is that, it's this one. And the last one is the mountains. Okay. I think it's this one. Okay, now I have all 3 articles. So now I can see, or I will get all of them here as a response. And I can define the article object. Now, because I don't have just one item, but I really have an array of items, I will use a map function to get the structure that I need. And I will return an object. And that object will have a header. Again, this is something I will use in the article component here. Yeah? So I can actually go through whichever elements I have here. There is a image source, there is definitely a header, and there is a content. So let's do it that way. So header will be item, elements, header value. Now I'm just going in blind because I'm not sure how the content, how the code names were called, but let's see. So header, content, and image. Cool. So header, content will be item, elements, content, value. And we will need the image URL. Again, I need to go through all the assets here, and image alt, yeah, 0, and description. Okay, I think we're good here. So this will actually get me all the articles, and the article will be used here in as a data for the other component. Now what I can do is start defining the new component. So that will be this part. I'll just take everything and I'll delete later the things I don't need. Now in this case I'm not going to be defining data because the data are coming into the object already. So I will define props like this, like an array of props that I will get. Let me check. Yeah. So that will be data. It will be featured article, and it will be left. Oh, there should be just, come on. So these are the props, and then I will need to define the template. That's where all the fun starts. So there is this feature project row. When we want to display something that is very different from everything else based on a condition, we can use here condition if featured article. This will ensure that if this property is set to true, it will be rendered. It will render this part of the template. Otherwise, it will render the rest. So I will add a similar condition here that says that this is going to be rendered only in case this is not a featured article. Yeah. And then it's the same as before. So here there is the source of the image. So this is going to be props data image URL. This is going to be data image alt. There's going to be a header right here. Note that I'm writing here data dot because the prop is actually called data. If I called the prop item or article data or anything else, that would be the same here. Okay, now I have another content here, so I'll just copy the class and then call vhtml, that is data content. Okay, I think we're good for this one. And then the others, there are a few differences, but let's just do it. First do the similarities. So header, it's actually data header. HTML is data content. And I'm still missing the source here and alt. Okay. Now let's find the differences between these two. Now this is only true if the article is on the left side. So That's the first difference, and the other difference I saw somewhere over here. There is the text LG left, there is the text LG right. So then what we can do is we can actually make this class be bound to Vue.js and treat this as a JavaScript part. Yeah. So this is the part that is everywhere the same, no gutters. And then we can say that if the article is supposed to be left, then we will render this part, otherwise we'll render nothing. I hope this is gonna work, we'll see in a moment. And the same will actually apply to this part. So the class is again bound by Vue.js. And the next thing here would be if left, then render text LG left, otherwise render text LG right. And I think we're done. Okay, we'll see. Each article left. Yep, let's see. Okay, now we're not seeing everything. Let's check console. What's the problem? So we have unexpected token somewhere on line 134. And that is true. That's my mistake. Okay, now we're getting this content here correctly, this one as well, but we don't see any articles. So let's see console for what is the problem. We shouldn't be using built-in or reserved HTML elements as component IDs article. Okay, fair enough. Shouldn't be using article. So let's change that. So we have articles here. So let's call this article item. And I think we'll also have another error here because I'm not using root element. Let me show you that as well. So you see it still doesn't work and I should get an error here. This is just a warning. Why are we not seeing the error? Now let's remove the console log. I think I left it somewhere. Yeah, I left it here. And it seems like yeah, that's true. We should have an explicit keys here. We can check what that means. I always forget how to do that. So there should be a key for every cycle of Vue.js. Articles, article item. Here we go. And we need some specific identifier of the article. So in this case, what we can do is actually the articles are coming from articles. So we need to change this as well. So let's add here another field ID, which is item system ID. Now this is gonna get the GUID of the content item from Kentico Cloud. It's under the system object. So we can use it then here as a key. Okay, now this should get rid of this error, but I still need to get the data here. And I think something is wrong here. We're getting article type and we're mapping all the items Yeah, because I'm creating the object, I'm not storing it anywhere. That's the problem. Let's see. This is what I forgot, right? So what I need to do is remove this and put here that. And this will be this data articles. Response items map. I think otherwise this is okay. Let's see. Okay, this looks better, but still there is an issue here. You see that the component template should contain exactly one root element. This is not true, yeah? So I need to change the template here. I need to put here another root element. Let's see if this is gonna work. Okay, it looks a bit better, but still there is an issue here somewhere. View is fine, but seems that I forgot something. Let's see. So the featured article is okay. Okay, this isn't very helpful, but it seems like there is an issue right here. So no gutters. It's in the left, and it's the misty. Okay, let's check one thing. Let's remove this and see if we're getting the right data in place. Okay, now we got only the first article. That's good. That means that the featured article is defined correctly and that the problem is in the second one. So here we're setting row justify. This should be fine. And here I'm missing actually double quote. I think this might have been the issue. Okay, we're still not getting the whole content. Let's see. Let's see what we actually have there. Or not here, but what we can do is output the data here. Okay, this is good. This is true. So let's do the same for left. Okay, that is also good. So this seems to be okay. Class. Let's check if this is actually causing problems. Okay, nothing's here. Okay, here we got the first article. There is its description. So we're looking at this part, and there is nothing but the comment. So that means we're not passing this condition for some reason. Let's check another thing. Okay, so there's an issue with this condition, it seems. So let's try it with VLs. Nope, still nothing. This is gonna be for is featured. Okay, so this is working. Okay, so this is correct. Okay, so it seems like it's not going through the VF. Let's check the view documentation if we need to do VF else. Okay, let's see if we can do it this way. Okay, here we have an issue with a wrong HTML. Maybe that was the cause. Okay, that looks better. So let's change this to VLs. Okay, that looks much better, but there's still something missing. And there is another issue here with the div. So let's see if that actually broke how it was defined. Yeah, that looks better, but still I need to remove this part. Okay, now it's starting to look better. but there is still something missing in terms of CSS classes. Let's check. Save MB0 text white. I think this is okay. I think this was extra. G6 image fluid. Oh, I missed this one. LG first. Order LG first. And this is right, so everything else seems to be the same. Oh, there's MR0. So let's try to add these. This one should go for the right one, and this is MR0. So let's do it the same way as before. ML0, otherwise it's going to be MR0. And I think the other part was here. Of course, it's not ideal. You could just create another whole section like this and distinguish between the right and left with the VIF and VElse. But in this case, let's keep it this way because I already started doing that way. Okay, we're getting there. There's still one part missing, it seems. Text LG right, text LG left. I think I'm missing space here. Okay, looks good. I'm missing space here as well. Oops, something happened. Right now, let's try to refresh the page again. Okay, almost there. So there is also a space missing. Okay, now we're good. So now it looks the way it should look like, and you see that the template is pretty much done. Yeah, everything that I wanted to have dynamic, I already have dynamic. The navigation, of course, can be made dynamic as well, or can be just left the way it is. Cool. So that's for the template. Oh, I see one request about the volume, so let me just adjust the volume a bit. Okay, I just reset the volume, so hopefully it's better. Okay, so now I have the template. It's fully implemented, so I can now go into how to actually export the content and how to create the package out of the implementation. Yeah. So for that, I want to show you what we actually have on our GitHub. It's on the kentico.github.io/cloud/. template manager. You will find a link to this on our main Kentico GitHub page as well. So just go to github.com/Kentico. You will find it there. And what this tool can do actually is it can export the content from your project, and it can import the content from a zip package. So I'll show you both. First of all, I need to provide the project ID, which in my case is not in the content, but in the settings. Or I can just copy it from here. This also works. Because you will find E613, it will be the same as here, E613, right? So I can use that one as project ID. And I have only one default language, so I don't need to add anything here. But if you have multiple languages on the template, then you might as well write them down here and export data. So see, it's actually getting all the content items and all the assets that I inserted in the past hour, and creates a zip package out of that. So you can see when I open the file, there are just JSON files, there are some assets here. It's actually the images. So this is actually the contents of the package, right? So I'll just take this and put it in the folder of the template. So this package is actually Kentico Cloud Import package, yeah. And this way, when you actually have all the content and all the models exported into the package, and you have the implementation right here, this is everything that you need for the whole template package. So you can take this packet and give it to a friend, or use it in your projects, whatever you want. This is already ready implementation of the website. Now what I want to show you is how you can actually import everything to show you that it actually works. So for that, I will create a new project. Let's call that one Kentico Cloud Web Template, Grayscale. Copy. And let's create it again here and create a project. And open it. Now this is a blank project, just like I created it before, completely blank. And what I will need for the tool to actually import everything. So if I was your colleague or your friend and you gave that template to me, this is what I would get when I extract it. So in order to run this website, I will need to import the content. Yeah, and in order to import the content, I will need two API keys. First of all, I will need the project ID of my blank new project. And I will need the content management API key, because you cannot really import the stuff to any project, even if you know its project ID, but there is another API key for that. So let's copy that and put it here. And the last thing you need to do is drop the export package here. So this is the thing that I got from you. I'll drop it here. And then I need to prepare the import data. You see that it actually shows me what's it gonna import. It's gonna import 3 content types, 4 assets, and 5 content items. So see exactly what's gonna happen in your project. If you click proceed with import, it will actually process everything. It will also upload the binary files, and it will prepare the project for your website implementation. You see it's also publishing stuff. And now when you go back into the new project, I think it's here, and go into content items, you will see already published content items that you just imported. And you will also see the assets in the assets library here, right? So now when you want to change the implementation, I will actually duplicate the folder, because I want to create a GitHub repository from the first one. So I'll just copy that. So this is the copy. And the only thing I need to do after the import is go into kenticocloud.js and change the project ID for the newly created project where I imported the content, right? So we'll take the project ID, I'll take it from URL, and save it. Now, when you open the page, it will look exactly the same, yeah? So it's not really something that I would want to show you here, that it looks like that. But what I want to show you as the last thing here is that when I go in and change the content, it will also change the website as it is. So this is a content item name. I want to go for header. Now this is a bit unorganized, so I can just then reorder the items the way I want. But the header should correspond to whatever the website will be about. Now I thought about this a lot, how or which use case I would use for showcasing changing of the template to you. So what I figured is I have a dog, so I'll just show you how I can create a page for my dog in 5 minutes. So this will be her name. I'm the best dog in the world, but sometimes I'm a bit greedy, especially when it comes to tennis balls. Okay, now I can publish this, and the website will actually show the change. But what I also want to do is change some images. Now what I did in the implementation is I actually left here, I left the main image, I think in the implementation of the site. Let me check the header. Yeah, I think the image is actually hard-coded in the CSS implementation. So I'm not going to be able to change that one. But what I can do is, let's check this. Oh. So we're also getting the content here. And what I can do is change this content a bit and put here some nicer images. So first one is Misty, I think. So let's change this. Model. Now I want to put here a nicer image, and for that case I just dug up a few images of my dog on OneDrive. So let's check this image. I think this one is quite nice. So save as. Okay, let me download it. See, OneDrive is very fast today. Okay, now let me take this, put it in the folder here, and upload it into Kentico Cloud. So I think this is in Firefox. Yeah. So that was in the copy folder. And remove this one. Like to stare. Okay, now let's publish it. And when I refresh the page here, I think this is the one. Yeah, it's in the copy. Okay, you see already the data changing. Yeah, so you can see that it's really easy when you have the website implementation. In the zip package, it's really easy to import the content items into Kentico Cloud and then just keep changing the website and get actually a nice website in a matter of minutes. Now, of course, it would be a bit nicer if that image was also used as the background. So let me check I think we're actually using the minimized version of the elements here. Yes, grayscale min.css. So let me check if we have the image. Right, here is the image that we're actually using for the background, main background. So what I can do here is just take the image address, put it here in the assets. And I think there was one more. I have a nice personalized website, right? So it does require a bit of effort to change really everything, but you see that it's really easy to customize, and the majority of content comes from Kentico Cloud. Cool, guys. So that's all that I wanted to show you today. Just stay tuned. I will take everything that I did today, I will put it to GitHub so that you can all take a look. And if you want to create templates, just pick one on html5app.net or anywhere else, or create one yourself, design one yourself. We'll be happy if you do that, and if you contribute to our community. When we have some more templates, we will probably display them, or the plan is that we want to display them in the Kentico Cloud Manager as one additional item here. So you will see, sorry, you will see all the templates in one place, and you can use them for your new landing page sites or new live sites and things like that. One last thing I wanted to show you is the cleanup. If you find that the import did not go well, you can always use the cleanup here. Just provide the project ID and content management API key, and it will actually wipe your project clean. Okay, so that's really everything from me. I see that nobody joined the GoToMeeting, so it seems like all your projects are going well. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be looking forward to another session of Office Hours in 2 weeks. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.